Hello. I am going to do a reading with a podcast behind me that I created about the rapture, Enoch, and the times. We hear growling in the background. That's my puppies back there. So it's going to be about lost lands, Enoch, epoch. Oh, I do things differently. I guess that's just me. So sorry about the background noise. And it's about deep cellular healing. Anyway, it's what I've created, and well,
welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a really deep plunge into a stack of sources that basically treat reality itself, well, not as fixed, but more like a massive digital file that's undergoing a serious rewrite, a kind of cosmic retcon, you could say.
It really is a fascinating mix. I mean, the material we've looked at weaves together threads from, ancient wisdom, specifically things like the Book of Enoch, with more established concepts like the Christian rapture.
And then throws in modern esoteric ideas too, right? Like starseeds, 5D consciousness, even the Mandela effect.
Exactly. And the common thread running through all of it is this conviction that we're in the middle of a huge, unavoidable shift in consciousness. They call it the reversal.
Okay, so our mission today is to unpack this idea, this vision of a dual reality, what they call the old grid versus a new blueprint.
Yeah.
We want to understand the language, the signs, the glitches that these sources say prove this shift is already happening. Maybe even for you listening.
I think so.
So let's unpack this. How about we start with the core idea, this sort of fundamental dualism, the contrast between EPOCH and ENOCH. It's one letter difference, but apparently key.
That's absolutely central.
epoch,
Yeah.
Enoch.
The sources
Rudolf
argue
Steiner,
Earth,
and
or maybe
Bible.
our experience of it, operates on these two tracks. EPOCH with the P represents what they call old Earth, or the old grid.
Okay, the old grid.
Yeah. Think of it as the gritty, timeline-locked reality, survival duality.
Yeah.
Just the dense, hard grind.
And they use that phrase carbon cage density.
Yeah.
What exactly are they getting at there, for someone maybe not familiar with the term?
Right. Carbon cage density, in this view, it refers to a kind of low vibrational state. It's our physical, material existence, defined by limitations, suffering, linear time, that feeling of being stuck in cycles. And they claim this state is marked by fractured timelines that have somehow been hijacked by inversions.
Hijacked, that sounds significant.
Oh.
Are they suggesting this hijacking is what created the EPOCH grid? They mentioned things like false memories, Anunnaki-style DNA tweaks.
Precisely. That's how they frame it. The Anunnaki influence in this narrative is seen as the kind of initial genetic manipulation that led into this denser, survival-focused loop. It's basically the origin story for the old grid.
Okay.
And they even have this, maybe slightly playful acronym for it. EPOCH stands for Eternal Pulse of Consciousness here. Like the constant, exhausting heartbeat of just trying to survive.
Right, the hamster wheel.
Okay.
So contrast that CH with the N.
Yeah.
That's the code for the new Earth.
Yeah, the new Earth. Described as boundless, a star-sourced bloom. If EPOCH is all about constraint, ENOCH is about freedom. Complete freedom.
The goal being crystalline light body freedom.
Exactly. Moving beyond that dense carbon-based form to a much higher frequency, a lighter, less constrained state, maybe what some call a higher dimension.
Makes sense.
And the acronym they give for this one is ENOCH, Elevated Nexus of Cosmic Harmony. It signifies the soul's direct connection back to source, unfiltered, where unity is the main principle, not duality.
And it's important that Enoch isn't just a concept here, right? The actual figure, Enoch, from the ancient texts.
Very important. Yeah, he's positioned as a cosmic archivist. The sources lean heavily on frameworks like the Keys of Enoch, claiming he left behind 64 specific keys.
Not literal keys, though.
No, not physical keys. They're described more like sacred equations or frequency maps, pieces of dimensional knowledge meant to help humanity pivot away from that density when the time was right. Almost like a hidden user manual for upgrading consciousness.
A user manual. I like that. So, okay, if reality has this dual structure, EPOCH and ENOCH, how do the sources say the switch actually happens? This is where you said it gets really compelling. The reversal.
The reversal, yeah. That's the core mechanism they propose. It's described as an alchemical flip, or like a mirror hack where inversion reveals the hidden blueprint.
A mirror hack, okay.
And they believe this process uses language itself as a kind of light code, which is why they focus so much on anagrams. They call it resurrection tech.
Right, it's a clever way they structure their argument. Like, take EPOCH, the old reality, flip the letters. You get HCOPE.
And the interpretation
Epoch.
there, in their
Enoch.
esoteric view, is that it's an encoded message, Hope's core overwritten, encrypted, suggesting the promise of freedom was always there, just hidden, buried inside the dense reality itself.
But the real kicker, they say, is flipping the new code, ENOCH. That gives you HCLE.
Which they decode as hidden consciousness of New Earth. The point they're hammering home is that the New Earth isn't some far-off place or, a spaceship coming to save us. It's supposedly unfolding within the reversal itself. It's revealed when the old dense structure gets flipped or inverted.
So language isn't just symbolic, it reflects the structure of reality.
That's the philosophical underpinning, yeah. Language holds power, reflects these deep structures.
And the proof, the big proof that consciousness can be rewritten collectively is the Mandela effect.
That's what they point to, yeah.
Some
As the
people call
most
it deja
widespread
vu.
kind of modern proof of concept for this reversal. Evidence, they claim, that our collective memory is actively retconning itself towards sovereignty. It's like a mass intellectual exercise showing reality isn't fixed.
And it's fascinating, they connect this modern internet phenomenon back to ancient texts. You mentioned the Book of Enoch earlier.
Yes, specifically chapter 80. They cite this as basically prophesying these kinds of glitches. That chapter talks about, wonky stars and flipped seasons, describing astronomical and seasonal chaos.
Which they read as ancient Mandela alerts, like warnings that the physical rules were starting to wobble.
Exactly, a sign that the old dualistic epoch system is breaking down, making way for the Enoch template to emerge.
Okay, so this reversal, this massive collective shift, it naturally connects to another big concept, particularly in the West, the rapture.
It does, and it's probably
We're in the
worth, just for
rapture.
clarity, quickly outlining the traditional
not the way
view
they
first so
think
we
we are.
understand the spin these
Well, I
sources
mean, it
put
could
on
go
it.
that way, but
Good
why?
idea.
Mhm.
Let's be impartial here. What's the standard Christian understanding?
Okay, impartially, the traditional Christian rapture is seen as an end times or eschatological event. It's described as a moment when true believers are suddenly caught up, snatched away from earth to meet Christ.
Right.
The term itself comes from the Latin Vulgate's translation of the Greek word harpazo, which means to seize or snatch away.
And the biblical basis. Mostly Thessalonians and Corinthians.
Primarily, yes. 1 Thessalonians 4 talks about meeting the Lord in the air, and 1 Corinthians 15 gives that vivid detail about being changed in a flash, in the twinkling of an eye. That sudden transformation is key.
Okay.
And usually it's understood as happening before the tribulation period, sparing believers from God's wrath. But, we have to stress, this isn't a universal Christian belief. Major groups like Catholics and Orthodox Christians often see this as part of the general second coming, not a separate secret event.
Right. Important distinction. Now let's pivot to how these sources interpret it. They use the term ongoing rapture.
Yes, they completely reframe it. For them, it's not some dramatic physical departure like a fiery exit wound. It's an internal vibrational shift, an inner solar flash. It's the collective realization, that kind of ultimate, oh wow, we're already home moment of unity consciousness.
Okay, so less about leaving Earth, more about transforming on Earth.
Exactly. And this is where the agents of this reversal come in, the starseeds.
Okay, starseeds.
Right.
For listeners who might not know that term.
Sure. Within this framework, starseeds are described as souls who originated from other star systems or perhaps higher dimensions and consciously chose to incarnate on Earth right now, specifically to help anchor a higher frequency during this shift.
And they're called the Vanguard, already half phased into 5D. We should probably clarify 5D too. It pops up a lot.
Good point. Yeah, 5D or fifth dimensional consciousness is essentially the state associated with the Enoch blueprint. It's defined by unity consciousness, moving beyond the duality and limitations of 3D, maybe even 4D, which includes time, and accessing nonlinear time, peace, unconditional love, those higher frequencies.
So starseeds are kind of bridging the gap, operating in both realities.
That's the idea. Being half-phased means they're sort of straddling the old and new blueprints, and their mission, according to these sources, is critical. They're supposed to be tipping the scales, actively rewiring the grid by channeling these winds of the new Earth.
By dissolving the density.
Yeah, dissolving illusions, dissolving density, and basically inviting everyone else, the sleepers, into this light body upgrade. It's a very active role they describe.
So the shift isn't just something passively waited for, it's an active mission.
That's exactly how they frame it. A current ongoing mission carried out by these individuals who, supposedly volunteered to be here for this transition.
But if there's a big shift, there's bound to be resistance, right? The sources talk about the old epoch's last gasp.
They do, and this is where their analysis turns more towards contemporary society and politics. They claim the old grid fights back using things like fear-mongering holograms and, well, static, noise, anything to keep souls anchored in the dense.
So real-world events, geopolitical crises, political narratives.
Especially political narratives, yeah. Their core argument is that certain power structures, specifically politics and pulpits, have sort of hijacked the divine for control. Now, it's crucial to note they're not taking a specific political side.
Right, we're just reporting what the sources say.
Exactly. They view the conflict itself, the intense polarity, as a vibrational trap designed by the old grid.
But they do mention specific examples.
They do, yes. They cite, for instance, the spotlight on someone like Trump as exposing what they call the grift, where faith is allegedly weaponized for control, often overlooking core tenets like unity or compassion. Their interpretation, again, is that this kind of political dynamic serves the old grid's agenda of maintaining separation.
And this connects to concerns about agendas like Project 2025.
Directly. They point to things like the Project 2025 blueprints, which propose biblical lockdowns on rights, as they put it, calling it a straight fear playbook.
So the reading is that this kind of hardline stance is the old system trying to slam on the brakes.
Pretty much. They see it as the inverted Enoch code screaming, stay small, stay scared. It's the epoch system desperately trying to maintain control and resist the shift towards, well, the unconditional freedom associated with Enoch.
The ultimate duality playing out.
Exactly. One force pushing for light body freedom, the other allegedly doubling down on fear and control. But the starseed sources consistently emphasize that the real battle, the spiritual warfare, isn't about picking political sides or fighting external enemies.
It's internal.
Yes. It's about mastering the realm for Golden Age peace through achieving internal sovereignty first. That's the key.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize. When you put this unique stack of sources together, what's the big takeaway?
I think the core conclusion they're drawing is that we're living through, or maybe participating in, a radical shift in vibration, a collective move from the density of epoch towards the harmony of Enoch.
And it's a kind of healing process.
Yeah, they suggest it's a massive collective healing. We're not just remembering the past, but actively remembering, like stitching fragmented pieces of the soul or fragmented timelines back into the one weave, aligning with that singular blueprint of cosmic harmony.
So this deep dive, we've explored this concept of a huge consciousness reversal, a flip from survival duality to something else, supported by everything from, ancient texts and anagrams to modern phenomena like the Mandela effect.
It's quite a narrative.
It really is. Mm-hmm. And maybe we can leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over. If this shift is real, as these sources claim, it presumably has to show up personally, right? On a micro level.
It makes sense.
So the sources might ask you to reflect. Have you noticed any personal glitches? Any personal timeline flips? Maybe a new memory surfacing that feels odd, or a profound shift in your personality or priorities? Anything in your life that feels like some kind of buried Nokian script suddenly coming to light. Could that be an indicator that this consciousness reversal is already unfolding for you?
Something to definitely ponder.
Yeah. Something to think about as you explore deeper.